What happened in Holy Week? Our confirmation class at Trinity Lutheran Church got together to try and tell the story. We learned the story first, then we made a script and we took the photographs, and then everybody recorded all their stuff at home. So this is what happened in Holy Week from Palm Sunday to Easter Sunday. And we've done it like a comic book style telling of this story. Hopefully you will enjoy everything you see and hear. What happened in Holy Week? Day 1. What happened on Palm Sunday?
Jesus rolled into Jerusalem on a humble donkey on the Sunday 1 week before his resurrection. We call this day Palm Sunday. Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them,
"Go into the village ahead of you, and as you enter it, you will find tied there a colt that has never been ridden. Untie it and bring it here."
The crowds that went ahead of them and those that followed shouted,
"Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!"
The people keep spreading their cloaks on the road. They also lay palm branches in Jesus' path as he rode into the city. Palm branches symbolize triumph.
The people were looking for someone to fight their battles in the present-day world. Yet God had the bigger plan of sending his son to fight the final battle over death. This is the greatness of why we celebrate Holy Week.
The religious authorities and the occupying Roman army were not happy about this Jesus upstart fellow. They also didn't like all the support Jesus was getting from the people, especially since the Passover was coming up in a few days. The religious authorities and the Roman would be watching Jesus.
Day 2. What happened on the Monday?
The Passover of the Jews was near, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and the money changers seated at their tables. He said to them, "It is written,
"The house will be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers."
Making a whip of cords, he drove all of them out of the temple, both the sheep and the cattle. He also poured out the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. He told those who were selling the doves, "Take these things out of here. Stop making my Father's house a marketplace." This really annoyed the chief priests, the scribes, the leaders of the people, and they kept looking for a way to kill him. But they did not find anything they could do, for all the people were spellbound by what they heard from Jesus.
Day 3. What happened on the Tuesday?
Every day Jesus was teaching in the temple. Holy Tuesday was also a day of avoiding traps and teaching. The priest set 4 traps for Jesus. The first questioning his authority, and he taught 3 parables. The parable of 2 sons, the parable of tenants, and the parable of the wedding banquet. The second trap challenged Jesus' allegiance.
The third trap attempted to ridicule Jesus' belief in resurrection. The fourth was a test when a lawyer asked which command was the most important. Jesus answered,
"You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. This is the greatest and the first commandment, and a second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets."
Jesus was quoting the Shema, scripture that all Jews would recite each day. God told them, "Talk about these words when you are at home and when you are away. Bind them as a sign on your hand."
Day 4. What happened on the Wednesday?
Holy Wednesday is referred as a day of rest for Jesus. While in Bethany, a woman anointed Jesus' feet with perfume. It's also widely known in the church as Spy Wednesday. While Jesus rested at his home of Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, the plot of the high priest and the authorities to kill Jesus was in full swing.
Finding an open opportunity in the greed of Judas, Satan entered him. Judas went to the chief priests and authorities, and from that moment he sought an opportunity to betray him. Judas would soon betray Jesus for the price of a slave. The disciples would all scatter, betraying him in a different way.
Day 5. What happened on the Thursday?
On Maundy Thursday, Jesus shared a Passover meal with his disciples in an upper room. The Passover can be thought of as a freedom meal. This comes from the time when God led the Hebrew people out of slavery in Egypt, eventually ending up in a new land that God would show them. The festive of Passover is a major tradition for the Jewish people marking their freedom. Remember, too, that at this time the Roman Empire had control of Jerusalem and Palestine. They didn't feel very free. Jesus told 2 of his disciples how to get ready for the meal.
Go and prepare the Passover meal for us, that we may eat it. When you have entered the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him into the house and say to the owner of the house, the teacher asks you, where is the guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? He will show you a large room upstairs already furnished. Make preparations for us there.
As Jesus shared the Passover meal that night, he added new meaning to the bread and wine as they were shared. This is the origin of the Last Supper. At this meal, we remember Jesus saying, "This is my body that I give for you, and this is my blood that I shed for you." Today, as we break bread and share wine, we remember that it is still the body and blood of Christ, but now it is for us. Churches everywhere still celebrate this meal.
During the meal, Jesus predicted his betrayal by one of them.
Truly I tell you, one of you will betray me.
Surely not I, Lord.
The one who has dipped his hand into the bowl with me will betray me.
Surely not I, Rabbi.
You have said so.
Judas left the meal at that time. After the disciples finished the supper, they went out into the garden. That is when Judas returned, ready to betray Jesus.
Greetings, Rabbi.
Friend, do what you are here to do.
Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek to show the soldiers and religious leaders which one was Jesus. They grabbed Jesus and arrested him. Suddenly, one of those with Jesus put his hand on his sword, drew it, and struck the slave of the high priest, cutting off his ear. Then Jesus said to him,
Put your sword back into its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Do you think that I cannot appeal to my Father, and he will at once send me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then would the scriptures be fulfilled, which say it must happen in this way?
Day 6. What happened on Friday? Good Friday.
Now Jesus stood before Pilate, the governor, who asked him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus said,
You say so.
But when he was accused by the chief priests and elders, he did not answer. Then Pilate said to him, "Do you not hear how many accusations they make against you?" But Jesus gave him no answer, not even a single charge, so that the governor was greatly amazed.
Now at the Passover festival, Pilate would release a prisoner that the crowd wanted freed. Pilate said to them, Whom do you want me to release for you, Barabbas or Jesus who is called the Messiah? And they all shouted,
Free Barabbas! Free Barabbas! Pilate said to them, Then what should I do with Jesus who is called the Messiah? All of them said, Crucify him!
Pilate saw that he could do nothing. Also, a riot was starting. So he took some water and washed his hands before the crowd, saying, I am innocent of this man's blood. See it to yourselves. Pilate had Jesus flogged, then handed him over to be crucified.
The soldiers led him away to crucify him. 2 bandits were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. People mocked Jesus, and one of the bandits did so as well. Some people heard Jesus call out,
my God, why have you forsaken me?
When Jesus knew that all was now finished, he said in order to fulfill the scripture,
I am thirsty.
A jar of sour wine was standing there, so they put a sponge full of the wine on a branch of hyssop and held it to his mouth. When Jesus had received the wine, he said,
It is finished.
Then he bowed his head and gave up his spirit. Now there was a good and righteous man from the Jewish town of Artemia, and he went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then he took Jesus' body down, wrapped it in a linen cloth, and laid it in a rock-hewn tomb, where no one had ever been laid.
It was the day of preparations, and the Sabbath was beginning. The woman who had come from Galilee followed, and they saw the tomb and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments.
We come to day 7. It's the Saturday. Not much said about it in the scriptures, but it must have been a terribly scary time. What happened on the Saturday?
On the Sabbath they rested according to the commandment. This was also a very frightening time, and the disciples and all of Jesus' followers would have been afraid.
Day 8. Yes, 8th day. What happened on this first Easter Sunday?
Early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene came to the tomb and saw that the stone had been moved from the tomb. She ran and went to where the disciples were staying and told them the tomb was empty. The men ran to the tomb and saw for themselves the empty tomb. The men went back to their homes, but Mary stood weeping outside the tomb. Then she looked into the tomb again and saw 2 angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had been laying. They said to her, Woman, why are you weeping? She said to them,
They have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him.
When she turned around, she saw Jesus standing there, but she did not know it was Jesus.
Woman, why are you weeping? For whom are you looking?
Supposing him to be the gardener, she said to him,
Sir, if you have carried him away, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away.
Jesus said to her,
Mary!
She said to him,
Rabboni.
Jesus said to her,
Do not hold on to me, because I have not yet ascended to the Father. But go to my brothers and say to them, I am ascending to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God.
My thanks to the confirmation class for all of their enthusiasm and creativity, and for all the parents who made this all come together.